Luno, the fastest, easiest way to buy Bitcoin. If you're just getting into crypto, it's the perfect place to start. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show. It is, of course, powered by Icon Plus Capital, the VC firm. Definitely check them out on socials. They are absolutely brilliant. Ben, great to have you. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Really great to be here. It's great. Just arrived in the office. Had a bit of a travel, but it's really great to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, you've just flown in from Miami, which is insane. And we're going to get all the information on your, I don't know whether to call it secret meeting because it wasn't that secret with the mayor. But before we jump in, just want to let everybody know that this is sponsored by BlockFi. So BlockFi, you can actually get, I think it's around 6% interest on a couple different stable coins on there. You can get $250 when you sign up. So definitely would recommend them. But anyway, Ben, welcome back. You're in Romania right now?
Yeah, definitely. Just arrived, had some conversations with the team, and excited for this conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We were chatting earlier, and I think your community is so vibrant, what you've managed to build. Everybody is so excited for this conversation. They've submitted 1,000,001 questions. So I really hope that we're able to get through them all. But before we do, I do want to learn a little bit more about you. So how did you first get into crypto? I think that has to be the most obvious question that everybody wants to know.
For sure. I would say and will always say that the Elrond community really rocks, and we would not be here without them. So going a bit into the questions, I initially stumbled into Bitcoin sometime in 2012, I believe. Played with stuff, and it was 2013 that I really went deep down the rabbit hole. But I always asked these fundamental questions. I was very fascinated, intrigued by technologies that would essentially have the potential to change the dynamics of humanity. So they would be able to be put on the scale of evolution. And Bitcoin at that point was extremely intriguing. It had two properties. First, it looked like a joke. A lot of people, like the serious people, would not look at Bitcoin, would not understand it. And then it looked extremely fascinating because it was the first combination of economics and technology in a way that we've never seen before. Now, as I studied things, it became clear that Bitcoin had this very fascinating trajectory for the future and what it could achieve, but it also had some limitation as I saw them. Then after that, I basically joined the NEM core team. After that, I started a fund to fund some projects that I thought would solve some of the most pressing problems in the space. And then after seeing that some problems were not getting solved at all, we essentially gathered a team with which we can literally build rockets and started working on Elrond. So here's where we are now.
So for those that don't know, how would you describe Elrond in just one sentence?
With Elrond, our goal is to build the backbone for a high bandwidth, low latency, transparent financial system. And secondly, give access to this new financial system to anyone, anywhere in the world.
Okay, so a lot of people say that you guys are similar or competitors to Ethereum and Cardano. Do you agree? And if so, how are you different and how are you better? That's the most important question, obviously.
Yeah, I would push back a bit on this type of comparisons, because I believe that people very easily put all the projects in some boxes, and maybe for simplicity, they always do that. But the idea with Elrond is that we're trying to underscore what maybe most of the people in the space forget, that we're not here to compete with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, we're not the killer, Ethereum killer or Bitcoin killer, but rather we're focused on bringing the next billion people in the space, because we believe that if we can bring this large elephant in the space, then we will be the wave that will lift all boats. In that sense, Bitcoin will gain tremendously. Ethereum will be able to gain tremendously, and even all the other projects with which we essentially have a lot of collaborations will be able to gain. So how we differentiate specifically is that we've solved the performance problem for the blockchain space, such that any application that really wants to build and embed blockchain into their architecture, they can do it right now, not in the future, with Elrond. And then secondly, we're putting a lot of focus into bringing a user experience in the space that will enable anyone in the world to interact with this technology without having them to learn rocket science. So this is the focus, and we believe that this is a non-zero sum game. That is, we can collaborate with all these interesting projects that really bring value in a way that we gain a lot and build a lot of value, but they also gain. And it's this where we see the largest opportunity for the space.
Speaking of adoption and collaborations, obviously you were in Miami, and we saw the picture of you with the mayor, which is really, really cool. So can you tell us what that meeting was about and what came from it?
Sure. So I'll give you an overview of that. We always want to speak about some matters when they essentially come out. But yep. I will say this, Miami is at this point the epicenter of the world in terms of technology. There's an energy, hunger, and focus there that you don't see anywhere in the world. And it's absolutely fascinating to see that you have a mayor like Mayor Francis, a lot of really smart people, technical people, founders, and so forth, and people that are super hungry. And I cannot underscore how important this is, because they don't want to sit around and just have discussions, but they're focused on building something, and they see this large opportunity. And then there's also all this other opportunities with super large funds, other startups, and so forth. So this is one of the things that we've seen before it was super obvious. This is why in January, I already was one time to Miami to have a conversation with Mayor Francis. And I remember that we were discussing with the team that there's a particular window in which some mountains can be moved. You cannot do this before, not do this after. And this is why we believe that Miami will play a key role in Elrond's future. Of course, maybe to give some ideas, we see that there will be a lot of startups there, right? Okay. A lot of blockchain startups. We want to be present and offer them some of the best tools and best support they really need. This is the gist of it. I will definitely follow up with more info as we finalize some things and get them done.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I get that. You can't exactly announce things which have just happened, but no, definitely appreciate that. I think you're right. Miami, the energy there is truly unbelievable, and it's so refreshing to see a mayor pushing for that kind of innovation. I'm London-based right now, and our mayor and the whole of London and the whole of the UK, to be honest, in the only way that I can ever think to put it, is needs a facelift, basically. And it's so refreshing just to see Miami leading the way. So that's really, really cool. Now, you guys have the Maya, am I pronouncing that correctly? The Maya Exchange?
Yes, Maya Exchange.
So there are a lot of questions that have come through about that. So I'm just going to grab them here. So, okay, so some people say that it looks like there's going to be a delay for the launch. So can you talk to us about that? Why is there a delay?
So the idea with the Maya Exchange is that we've put a lot of thought into bringing a DEX, a decentralized exchange that will work on Elrond, bringing it to the market in a way where this becomes not just another DEX, but the key component that everyone will use in the Elrond ecosystem and beyond. Of course, there's a tremendous effort to get this done and push it out. It always seems like this is just a small thing, you get a few things done and then you have it out. But it turns out that the Mara exchange is a monster. It's extremely important that we have more than 7 smart contracts that interact with a lot of critical information. Then we have front end, then we have APIs, then we have a lot of microservices that need to interact. And I was just discussing with the team before that it seems like the days that we invest right now are almost each day at least $1 million that we essentially save out of the people's money. With all the hacks that we've seen in the space, it's like, do you want to spend the days really focusing, getting the security super high, or do you want to pay this money after you launch? So it's that simple, and we're super close. I would say that we are pushing super hard so that next week we have a launch with the community on the testnet, so that we can test this together and so forth. We are super excited about that, but we also want to be very, very aware that this is an incentive for people to hack everything, to hack the smart contracts, to hack the exchange, and we want to be very meticulous in that respect. And that being said, the progress has been tremendous. It always looks a lot simpler when you set out, but then you discover it's super large. Still, as we get very, very close, I believe that the community will be tremendously excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they already are, to be honest, because the majority of the questions that came through were about the Maya exchange and the wallet. Somebody actually asked if you guys are thinking of creating a card. And I think that's a great question, because for me personally, when I was getting into the space, I found the card exchanges which provide a card are so powerful when it comes to adoption. It just makes it so much easier. Because sometimes it can be such a headache moving your crypto from a wallet onto an exchange, then into your bank account. If it's all just in one ecosystem, it's such a smooth experience. So is there a card on its way?
For sure. So maybe to differentiate a bit, we have the Maya exchange, the Maya DEX, and then the Maya application. The Maya application is this very, very simple, perhaps the simplest UX in the space, and also the most compelling. And so in this application, we currently have eGold, we have Ethereum, we have Binance, and very, very soon Bitcoin. I saw that some people asked about this in the thread.
You've got to have Bitcoin. You can't not,
For sure, 100%, and it's super close. Was just discussing this with the team. I think it will come probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks, for sure. And the idea is that with the Maya application, we're trying to provide this very simple and compelling experience to the space. And then within this, of course, you want onboarding, fiat on ramps, fiat off ramps, and a card. If you can have this, you basically have abstracted away the entire complexity and can really push forward. The fiat on ramp we have, the fiat off ramp, it turns out, again, this is one thing that, as we discuss with some of the providers, initially it looks super simple, and then there's a mountain of legal discussions that you keep having, but still we're making progress, and I think we will have this. It just is essentially just a legal discussion. So on weekly basis, we keep having the same discussions on a legal front. And then the card as well, it's just a legal part that we have to get through, that we're making progress on, and we will have the card. It just has not come as fast as we wanted to come.
Everything takes time, and I always say it can take time as long as it's worth it. You don't want to rush things, and then you have technical issues. and things go wrong, I think that's actually what Charles Hodgkinson actually says a lot of the time, when the Cardano community sort of complain about how long things take. But you don't want to mess it up,
No,
do
no,
you?
no. It's. I think we have a lot of momentum. We have a really great progress, and some of these features are coming. They will hopefully come during the next few months. We're pushing, and we understand that the card will be tremendously valuable for the community. So we're pushing as hard as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here's another really interesting one. So somebody has asked, when will the US be able to purchase Eagle through the Maya wallet?
Yeah, this is another great question, and we've been pushing on this for months now. It turns out that the US, for some reason, is especially about legal discussions.
Yeah.
So, whatever the other, there was a funny tweet at some point that Paul Graham put out, and Paul Graham, you probably know him from Y Combinator, said something like, there were several countries or several, let's say, continents gathering together and discussing about the innovation. The US said, I'll bring the technology. Asia said something else. And then Europe said, I'll bring the legislation or something, the legal part. But interestingly enough, it seems like this is even quite the opposite. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like everyone else is building, and then in the US, 80% is legal discussion. And you get to have a lot of backlog just because of this legal discussion. So the short version is, again, we have some partners, we're making progress, but there's two basic limitations there. One is the legal part, which we keep going through, and it's basically almost done. And then there seems to be a kind of almost industry bandwidth limitation at this point, especially for the US, where most of the projects see much more demand than they anticipated, and we're trying to help them with the integrations and stuff like that. So US is the largest market. We understand that, and we're pushing super hard to make it happen. Hopefully it comes out soon.
Yeah, everybody that I speak to that's trying to build, or even if it's on a personal level, not just like on a company level or whatever it is always trying to break the US market, and it's a nightmare for those who aren't American, who don't have residency or citizenship or whatever it is. It's just a nightmare. I mean, I think it's even a nightmare for Americans, to be honest, with the SEC.
Even more, I would say.
Oh, really? Why would you say so?
Like, just ask yourself why no company is putting the HQ in the US. Even the US startups are located somewhere else to not have this type of discussion. So it's a bit crazy on that front.
Yeah, no, actually, I think you're absolutely right. But here's another really interesting one. Somebody has asked, would Maya ever become a messaging service like WhatsApp or Signal or something like that?
Yes, the idea for a messaging app is, of course, super compelling. And we've had a lot of discussions around this internally, of course, what it would mean to have a super DApp. Basically, the idea would be that you, of course, have money and everything related to money, but then you have messaging on the internet, and then you have browsing. So if you could have something like that, you basically have everything that someone needs to do. And there are interesting and successful applications that have done this. If you look at WeChat, this is precisely what they've done. It's just that we want to make sure that we focus on having the first version of Elrond, exactly what we need. The first version of Maya with some of the key applications, and then move forward to adding new services in order to make it still super simple for the user. But messaging is definitely one of the key applications that we'll see on the very near future.
I think even 10 years ago there were rumors that that's what Facebook were trying to do. They were trying to be, the WeChat of the West or whatever it is. So it's definitely something which people are trying to do. I always wondered why they weren't able to achieve that.
I guess this may be a lot about UX. So in the West, the users are not necessarily used to having one application with 10 applications inside. And then in China, they're used to WeChat, which basically has everything. You can browse the web, you can do messaging, you can do payments, you can do all the other stuff. So it's much more an element of what users really want, what they would get used to, and making this still a super compelling application, because it's easy to just put in stuff and much more difficult to make it still very usable, not adding too much complexity and so forth. But yeah, I would say that we are going to see a lot of explorations in this respect. We even encourage a lot of people to come and build something like this on Elrond. Yeah, with Maiar, I guess we'll have some interesting experiments on that front as well.
And speaking of adoption globally, we got a cool question, which is, what is the strategic plan for adoption in Africa, Asia, and then the US, which you did touch on?
Sure. Elrond is very, very strategic in this respect. So we're trying to not just do stuff that everyone does, but rather take some specific elements where we know we can shine and beat anyone in the market, where we can move at high speed and then execute on that. So what we're focused on right now is, it's clear that we have a huge advantage in Europe. Europe is where the majority of the community is. It's also clear that Asia is super huge as an opportunity, but also very, very idiosyncratic. So the things that would work in Europe do not necessarily work in Asia. And then it's the same for the US. The US is a huge market, but once you go in, it takes a bit of time to really go in and make sure that the legal part is bulletproof. But once you do, of course, there's a huge opportunity in the US as well. So I would say that Europe is pushing really fast forward during the next period. Asia will follow, and then the US as well. It's just that the US will probably be pending the legal stuff, and as soon as it is done, it will just seem like it happens all of a sudden. But it was years of work in the background, as it usually is.
That sort of reminds me of what people say on social media when they say people look at you and think it was overnight success or whatever it is, and you're just there trying to grinding every day to make it happen.
Yeah, just a few years.
Yeah, not that hard. Just a few years of blood, sweat, and tears, basically, to break into those markets. So you did touch on this, but we'll just go to back to it a second. So, how soon will the decks be released? It's a bit more specific.
Yeah, what we are focusing and what we are pushing on is that during the second half of next week, and I'm always mindful of how many things are popping up, and I usually discovered each day. But we're pushing super hard that end of next week sometime we can go out with the first version on the testnet. We'll have a really cool community approach there, where we do some cool stuff, whether it's testing, competitions, and so forth, just to make sure that everything is working properly. Then immediately after that, there will be the official launch. But yeah, this is a huge milestone for Elrond, and this is why we're pushing as hard as possible to get it out.
And can you tell us about some of the DeFi interactions that will be available on the Maiar app?
Yeah, so the Maiar DEX is sort of independent of the Maiar app first, but what's super cool about it is that you'll have this unique user experience where through the Maiar wallet, which is a mobile wallet, you'll be able to interact with the Maiar DEX very simply to provide liquidity for different farming options, different liquidity pools, and then exchange some tokens, of course. And at first, you'll basically have three pools. So there will be an e-gold pool, a MEX pool, and essentially a BUSD pool, all paired with Mar Exchange token. This I suppose will evolve very fast. So immediately after we push this out, all the projects that have been waiting for something like this can list their tokens. So this will kick a natural feedback loop, really fast kickstart. But we want to take this out, push it out. Of course, there's also the Maya Exchange token with the native token of the DEX. People are waiting, of course, for that to claim their token, be able to provide liquidity. So this is what we're focusing at this point. There's also borrowing and lending that's coming at a later point, and we've discussed about the Mar lend function and some other tools, of course, but we take it one step at a time.
Always one step at a time. So we're going to move on just a little bit, and someone's asked, can you elaborate on the partnership with OIN and how it'll be utilized for the upcoming Maya exchange?
So the idea there is that we will issue a token, a stable coin that is e-gold backed. So how it will be used is, of course, we'll have a pair that will launch on the Maya DEX, and people will be able to exchange the token, take it, use it in some other ecosystems. But the Maya exchange can be seen as this global liquidity pool that we will gradually, where we will gradually put all the tokens that exist within the Elrond ecosystem and all the new, even NFT elements that will come to the ecosystem.
Okay, so in a minute, I do want to go and do a live AMA. So I just want to let everybody to know. So if there are any questions that you feel haven't been answered yet, if there's anything else you feel you really want to know, please just put them in the live chat now, and then I can scroll through and we'll ask all of your questions. But before we do the live AMA, I do have one more question, which is actually really interesting. Somebody asked, would you ever look at doing a collaboration between Elrond and Apple? Because they are actually looking for a crypto expert, and they say that the Maya wallet would be perfect for iOS.
No, I think everyone is super excited to see some of the news that came out last week, I guess, that Apple was looking for someone on the payment / cryptocurrency side. It's awesome news. It's great to finally see them move forward. We would be super happy to have a conversation and help them with that. It's actually a bit surprising that they've moved so slow on that front. So they're basically the slowest in this respect. We have interesting conversations with some larger or not larger, but super large players that are moving forward, trying to experiment. And there's even one element that I'll briefly touch on, which is we announced a collaboration with Holride and Audi. And then there was a lot of excitement in the community when Audi started showing a bit of more interest with even the social media stuff and so forth, interacting with the Elrond community. So when you see this type of very large players starting to make the moves, you know that everyone else will start to make a move, because this is a bit of at first it's almost like a Mexican standoff, and then it becomes an arms race. When the first state moves in, then it's a race. Who is going to move in fast? How much time do we have, and so forth? It's the same for the companies. And I guess during the next few months, we will certainly see some larger players, again, similar to Tesla, similar to the other interesting ones, making a moves, hopefully not like Tesla, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. Let me just hit my camera back on. There we go.
No
yeah, I mean, Apple, they have moved really slow, but I think what's really interesting is a lot of people are saying we're going head first into a bear market, But I don't feel that way whatsoever. There's too much bullish sentiment going on. Apple talking about their own crypto expert. I mean, it feels
Yeah,
positive to me.
yeah. I guess people always default to this, like to the simplest narrative they have in their
Mm,
mind. So, what's bearish? What's bullish? What's the cycle? Of course, we have several cycles. Is this cycle over? What if we look historically? What's happening and so forth? But I believe at this point, it's much more important to understand the fundamentals
yeah,
and why this could be hugely different. Because, of course, you have a lot of cycles, but we have to understand and get reminded that the cycles are based essentially on fundamentals. If you don't have fundamentals, then you're going to have
you
a
have no
really
cycles.
bearish market. Yeah. But if you have the fundamentals, if you can accommodate millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of users, everything changes. At that point, the idea of the super cycle supersedes the normal stuff. And I do believe that we're at that point. Of course, this doesn't mean that you'll not have volatility, you'll not have the normal crazy stuff that you usually have in the space. But fundamentals are changing the game completely.
Yeah, and I think that is what's going to drive, in my opinion, this second part of this cycle, this potential super cycle. All right, so I'm going to head over to the comments now. So, guys, if there's anything you feel hasn't been answered, if you have any other questions, please just throw them in the comments now, because I'm going to go through them all and we're going to actually do a live AMA. Okay, so
Perfect.
a lot of people are asking when Coinbase listing.
I'd love to be able to give an answer to that. Of course, we're doing, as I said, everything within our power to make sure that things are clear on the legal front, that we can help even on technical aspects whenever they're needed. We do have conversations with all the largest exchanges in the world. And all I can say is that from our end, we're ready.
You're ready.
It's just that we need to see them ready as well.
I understand. What about NFTs on the Elrond blockchain?
So NFTs are already available on the Heilpern blockchain. We actually introduced a new standard for NFTs, something like the Ethereum standards, but with a few improvements where you have embedded royalties and stuff like that you can configure. And this is very, very cool. We know that there are several projects that are already building something on these standards, but we're also taking this proactively and preparing a launch in the Maya application with NFTs. So I'll probably have a much more concrete update as soon as the light at the end of the tunnel is clear. Things look awesome at this point. So we already have the concepts, the design, we've went through all of that, but we're now pushing super hard to make it real and get this new feature out for the users. So we'll probably be out sometime after the Maya DEX.
What about a digital identity?
Digital identity is this feature that it's super tricky. The trickiness is not that you will not solve digital identity. It's very easy to find a solution, but the tricky part is, how do you get adoption? There are 1,000 digital identity solutions for different things on the web. No one knows about them. They don't work because they cannot scale. There is no incentive to adopt them. So we've been thinking a lot about digital identity and how you could solve this in a way where there's an incentive for you to adopt it. So let's say you have something like the Elrond hero tags, which are this DNS functions where you have not only e-gold addresses, but you have Bitcoin addresses, Ethereum addresses, Binance addresses, and many other tokens afterwards. If this becomes super useful or useful enough, then the users will start adopt this as a kind of digital ID option. But the digital ID will be a secondary feature because they will always adopt it just because it's super useful. And then you have this is always the tricky part. You can get the product, but if you don't have the distribution, you essentially don't have a useful product. And we might have something super cool on the digital ID part, but we'll push on that when it's ready.
So there's somebody absolutely asking the same question over and over again in the comments, which I just have to ask you. Okay. Otherwise, I won't be able to see any of the other comments. So somebody asked, who is Ben's biggest idol?
Idol.
Yeah, idol.
I would say that there are a few people from which I've learned a huge deal. At some point when I thought, my question was always, who have been the most, let's say, influential, relevant, or important people that have lived? This is a rather easy question. You study a bit, you see them, and so forth. But then the more interesting question is, who are those people today that most people don't really see? That they're not yet the most famous people, but they're really, really good in what they're doing. If you can discover them, you can find the most relevant things in different subjects. At some point, I believe it was 2012 or something like that, I thought that at that point I discovered Musk, I discovered Thiel, and discovered Paul Graham. Essentially devoured everything they wrote or thought about and so forth, and was extremely fascinated by what each of these individuals have achieved and how they saw the world. Because at the fundamental level, there was a new way of seeing the world. Each of them had this view on, let's say, Paul Graham was the grandmaster in terms of startups, that there was no one like him. Peter Thiel was a really idiosyncratic thinker in terms of technology, startups, and the future. And then Musk, like, he's crazy, of course, especially these days, but there's basically no one like him in terms of achieving what he sets out to. So these are a few really cool people that I've learned a tremendous amount from.
Elon Musk is an interesting one because, so I share the same sentiment towards him. I think one man going head to head with NASA. Gosh, that sounds like the beginning of like a movie title, doesn't it? One man goes head to head. So I think it's unbelievable. And a lot of people hate what he's done recently with regards to Bitcoin and all that stuff. And I understand that. But I still don't think you can knock him for what he's achieved. I mean, it's just insane.
Sure. No, he does have some things to learn in terms of crypto and blockchain. I suspect that he has a grand plan for this part as well. There have been some cool threads, but I would not throw everything he's done in the trash just because something seems crazy. It will be tricky for him, of course. Like, if he continues this, at some point it could backfire. So I guess he's testing the limits at this point. I would not want to be in that position where everything is on the line, because I tweet 2-3 things and then things start burning out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he has a bigger plan, and we're yet to see what comes of it. But of course, back to you guys. So Launchpad, I'm getting when Launchpad. That's what's coming through here on the questions.
Again, we have some projects there. We pushed a lot. They're tremendously valuable. We're super excited about them. There have been some legal discussions. Again, legal seems to be this thread that keeps reappearing in some of the things, but we are now very, very close to having some updates on that front as well.
On those legal issues, can you tell us anything else? I know somebody was wondering what are the legal issues that you have when it comes to the US?
No, so it's not legal issues. It's just that we're trying to approach things proactively to make sure that we're bulletproof, that whenever there's a discussion, we have 10 steps ahead, make the plan, can provide the details. And at this point, the legal part with respect to Launchpad projects is just trying to help them prepare to be ready, and when we move forward to have things ready so that they've done their homework and so forth.
So someone's asking, is this a paid interview? So I do want to just make this really clear. This isn't paid. This isn't sponsored. I actually just reached out to Ben because I was interested in Elrond and I wanted to just learn more about the community. So yeah, this absolutely isn't paid. Everybody knows that I'm always honest when something is paid. I'm powered by Icon Plus Capital and my little sponsors are there in the corner, BlockFi and Luno. So yeah, this isn't sponsored at all. So we're getting questions through about marketing. Why haven't you guys started marketing? Which actually basically proves that this isn't paid, because this isn't a marketing thing whatsoever.
Sure. So the idea is that we're in a very, very special position at this point. We now have the tools to really build anything on top of a blockchain. And we've prepared some of the last elements that we really need for the projects to not only come in and play with the technology, but have what they need to build it, have what they need to launch their tokens, create their economies, build their communities, and push things to the next level. And during the next period, we'll have a very, very, very significant push on this front, just to bring everyone that has been building on Elrond, help them get out there, help them make the progress and launch their entire ecosystems. This will be the most interesting theme that will follow.
And just going back to the decks, we're getting some questions through. I know you said it's not about comparing, but I guess there are so many different options in this space now as things start to grow and really expand. So what would you say the difference is between the Maya decks and then something like PancakeSwap or Uniswap?
Sure. I would say that there are a few elements that really count and would bring us to a point where, if you take a look at especially Uniswap and some of these other options, there have been a very, very limited number of users that have been able to access this, either due to the large fees and problems that we've seen, or due to the complexity. And it's here that we want to make a huge leap forward, both that this becomes super inexpensive and that you can focus on testing some of these elements, getting new features out and so forth, but then also UX wise, enabling a super large amount of users to be part of this and be part from day one is something that none of these ecosystems had. And we're very, very curious to actually see how the Elrond community adopts and plays with these tools as they come out.
So I'm reading that there's been some FUD. I personally don't know enough about this. So could you please ask the big wallets? So hang on, let's have a look. Okay, so Coin Bureau basically are putting out some FUD about big wallets and centralization. I actually did read about this. So apparently the majority of the supply is centralized. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, this is actually just a simple matter. We've basically discussed, and the entire community knows this. The top 10 wallets are basically exchange wallets. This is not only for Elrond, but on every blockchain. When you have Binance, when you have all the other large exchanges, you have large wallets that are the cold and hot wallets of the exchanges. Since the community knows this, there's basically not too much to discuss around it. We will do something that's still proactive and helps diffuse any type of steam on this level, we'll try to add some cool labels on the Explorer that just gives you an idea. This is the Binance wallet, this is the Bitfinex wallet, and so forth. And by doing so, we're trying to both anticipate and proactively diffuse any type of discussion related to this. We actually, I would say, are at a point where there are very, very few networks that are as decentralized and then scalable as Elrond. We have a very large number of nodes, more than 3,200 number of nodes that are active in the network, more than 45 staking providers, and then all the metrics around adoption are also very, very interesting. So I always appreciate the ball when it's raised, and we'll try to score some goals with that. So nothing to worry about. It's just a normal element. And I guess there have actually been some comments from the community where someone clarifies what each of the accounts is doing, who it belongs to, and so forth.
Yeah, I have seen that in the comments. So there we go. So no, I think everybody really appreciated it. I'm just reading through now. Everyone says that's great. We're getting some answers we couldn't get anywhere else. So that's great. That's always the goal. Okay, so just lastly then, because we're coming up to an hour, 45 minutes. What's the entire 10-year plan? What can we expect?
Yeah, so this is the one element where we think very, very deeply about, in addition to the immediate part. And as I said, we believe that this is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, generational opportunity that is unprecedented. And I don't think we've seen any opportunity that is as large and as significant as this since the invention of the internet. And this will have implications for countries of the world, for banks, for institutions, funds, and startups, and so forth. So we actually coined this term of the era of autonomous banking, and we believe that this is what's going to happen. We're going to have a kind of $100 trillion opportunity where states are going to adopt blockchain technology as a settlement layer. Banks, the smartest ones, will proactively try to race in a way where they adopt this technology. Then startups are going to build on it. And what Elrond specifically is going to do is, going back to what I've mentioned right at the beginning, create the backbone for this high bandwidth, low latency, global and transparent digital economy, then give anyone, anywhere, easy access through the Maiar wallet. By connecting these two elements, you first have internet-like performance for the blockchain, so almost instant, super inexpensive, and global. And then by interacting with all this technology in a wallet, with Apple-like experience. Yeah. You basically are in a different world. At that point, you can see how you can make all the payments just from one wallet, can have new use cases for artists, where it's NFTs and stuff like that. But you also have essentially a fundamentally, significantly improved economy. It's like right now the entire economy is working with a very, very slow feedback loop. So you have to wait 24 hours until you make some transfers and they settle and so forth. Imagine what it would mean to have this instant settlement layer for the global economy. At that point, you're at a different level.
Ben, I want to thank you so much. It's been so brilliant. I think, just so everybody knows, none of the questions that we asked initially were given. So I think it's really brilliant just to be able to, address concerns and worries and FUD and whatever it is, just on the spot. I think it really puts faith into the community. So it's really important. So yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining. It's been absolutely great, Ben.
Really great to be here. I think it's probably the best time to be alive. We're super focused on the super focused on the next steps, and just focus on making progress forward. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. And guys, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. I'm always going to be talking to really brilliant guests in the community, and just spreading as much education, awareness, and adoption as possible. Because yeah, like Ben says, it's such a brilliant time to be alive right now. We're so lucky to be right at the beginning of all of this, because I think it's just going to be bigger than we know. So there you go. Ben, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching, for tuning in, and please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a guest. We will see you all next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.